Hey everyone, my name is Anders, and today we are going to go over all of the skills for the new class in Black Desert Scholar. We're going to go over all the skills, show them to you, and at the end I'm going to go over my initial impressions of the class from what I've tested in the last few hours or so. A more comprehensive PvE review should be going live tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. So let's start with the basic attack of Scholar, LMB. Not much to say here, it is a basic attack, recovers mana, everyone has one, so let's just move on. Hammer Strike is our RMB skill. It has a 4-second cooldown, not very exciting on its own to be honest, but if you hold down RMB after Hammer Strike, you will flow into your Sledgehammer skill, Golden Pillar. Now this skill deals a lot more damage, but more importantly applies an evasion debuff of 9% to your target for 10 seconds. The flow has no cooldown, so you can use it every 4 seconds when Hammer Strike is off cooldown. A lot of these Scholar skills are going to be working this way. For example, our next skill, Hammer Down, our W+RMB skill deals okay damage by itself. It is a movement skill, but if you hold RMB after that skill, you can use your Golden Thorns flow skill that deals more damage, is protected, and recovers health. Dropkick is our F skill. It's on a 6-second cooldown and allows you to apply a knockdown CC on our target. If we hold F after this skill, we can use our flow skill, Golden Vines. This flow skill deals a lot more damage and applies a DP debuff on our targets for 10 seconds. Extremely good in PvP combos. Hammer Punch, our E skill, has a low cooldown of only 5 seconds, applies a melee AP self buff of 20 for 10 seconds, and if you hold down E, you can use your flow skill, Golden Trajectory. This skill deals a lot more damage, is super armor, and has a down smash on the 3rd hit. Hammer in the Knee, possibly a reference to Arrow in the Knee maybe. This is our WE skill. It deals okay damage, protected, but more importantly applies a 15% attack speed self buff for 10 seconds. Once again, if you hold E after Hammer in the Knee, you can use your flow skill, Golden Blockade. This skill deals more damage, has a knockdown, and recovers mana. One small step, our WF skill is a movement skill that also applies a 20 DP self buff for 10 seconds. Moving on, we have our 200% BSR skill, Gravity Field, our S+RMB skill. This one deals a lot of damage, is protected, and has a vacuum effect in PvE. It also has a flow, so if you hold S+RMB after this skill, you will be able to use Golden Wave. This skill deals a ton of damage, is protected, and recovers health. You can also use the 200% BSR with Gravity Field to deal one of the more impressive looking 200% BSR skills I've seen. Next we have Home Run, our S+LMB skill. This skill deals a lot of damage, is protected, and has increased AoE if you use it after Hammer Throw. Gravity Press is our next skill and is a quick slot skill. The damage is okay, but the effect is actually more interesting. So when you use it, you will go up in the air, you'll be in iframe, and you'll be able to move around in the air. You can then do a downwards attack by pressing LMB over your target. Potential Energy is our 100% BSR skill. This one deals a ton of damage, is protected, and applies a 20 DP self buff for 10 seconds. The 100% BSR is not the quickest in my opinion, but it does have good AoE range and deals good damage. Hammer Throw is our SF skill. This one is not very interesting on its own, aside from looking awesome, but it does have a flow skill. When you use SF after Hammer Throw, you will then cast Golden Skyfall. This skill deals an absurd amount of damage, is protected, and is on the same cooldown as Hammer Throw, so 7 seconds. You can use it together every single time. Next up, we have our class buff skill. This one applies 30 AP, 20% accuracy rate, and 40 DP for 30 seconds. One of the most overpowered class buffs I've ever seen. Nothing more really to say other than that. Gravity Anchor is our next skill. This is our Q skill. It's pretty unique. When you use it, you throw a gravity core into the distance. For a small window of time, you can teleport to that gravity core by using Attraction, our flow skill. You can also use Repulsion, another flow skill, to deal more damage, and teleport a second time if you wish. Both Attraction and Repulsion recover health on hit. Gravity Blink is our side dash. It is iframe into super armor on a 3-second cooldown. Reversal is our S+SHIFT dash, our backwards dash. This one is purely iframe. You can also hold down S+SHIFT after using reversal to use your flow Gravity Storm. This skill will deal okay damage, but will also act as a mobility mobility skill that is SA iframe SA and recovers health on hits. Our passives for the class are Action Reaction, that's your main passive. It's going to give you 10% accuracy rate, which is good, and 20 DP, extremely good. Our second passive gives us 20 melee AP, and our third passive applies a defense nullifying damage plus 5 self buff for 10 seconds when you use certain skills, and also applies a 20% recovery effect reduction on enemies hit with certain skills. So if you use a skill like Golden Pillar, you will apply both the self buff to yourself and allies, and you will apply the debuff on all enemies in the alchemical circle. Moving on, we have our Sledgehammer skills. We already went over some of them with the flows, but let's look at our C skill, Core Fusion. This can be cast at any time in the middle of any other skill. Doesn't matter if it's Sledgehammer or a Gravity Core skill. However, if you use it when you're in the middle of a Gravity Core or Hammer skill, you will deal a larger AoE. Next is Hammer Rush, our WC skill. This one is a great mobility skill that also has a floating CC at the end. Next, we have Gravity's Grip, our Shift-E skill that is also our grapple skill. This is your grab, and yes, it is a ranged grab. Very strong. Moving on, we have Hammer Smash, our Shift+LMB skill. Deals a ton of damage, is protected, and deals a DP debuff of 20 for 10 seconds on your target. You can also apply a knockdown if you take the bond version of this skill. Infinite Power is an interesting skill. There are 3 ways that this skill can actually do damage. First, it's a charging skill, so you can hold Shift+RMB and you deal damage around you over time. You can cast it without finishing the cast to deal actually decent damage, or you can cast it when fully charged to deal a massive amount of damage. You can also apply a bound CC on the last hit if you take the bond version. Hammer Spin is our Shift+C skill. This deals an absurd amount of damage, is protected, and also applies a 15% attack, cast, and movement speed slow for 5 seconds. And you can make it a knockdown on the third hit if you take the bond version. One Giant Leap is our Shift+Q skill. This is a mobility skill that deals more damage the higher the falling distance, and you can also use a flow skill called Golden Thunder, which can actually be used after every other skill in your kit. It deals okay damage, but it is iframe, and also applies a knockdown and an evasion debuff of 9% for 10 seconds, and it recovers health. And finally, we have the last skill, Hammerfall, our Shift+F skill. This deals a ton of damage, is protected, and can be a bound on the first hit if you take the bond version. So that's all the skills for Scholar. A couple of things to mention. Scholar does take reduced damage from falling and negates damage from falling if you use certain skills. You also have an S block in the class, in case you were wondering. And remember, this class is an Ascension class. This means we won't be getting an Awakening. This is the class in its entirety, and honestly, it shows. This is probably the easiest class to pick up since all the skills flow together so nicely. Design-wise, she is extremely strong in both PvP and PvE, though keep in mind, this is test server. Things could change. I will be extremely surprised if she doesn't get some nerfs by the time she goes live. Her kit is one of, if not the strongest in the game on paper, so we'll see how she does. I think if you were worried she was going to be slow like Guardian, well, she's not. She's pretty quick. Slow animations can be cancelled. Everything links together. She has great movement, a lot of self buffs, a lot of debuffs. She shouldn't have trouble grinding anywhere. We also have to think about the bombs that are coming and the Abyssal skill, the Magnus skill, but hopefully those come a lot quicker than they did for Wusa and Megu. And that's it for me. I will be testing some PvE grind to look for some combos and add-ons, so expect a video on that tomorrow. And as for PvP, I'm going to wait till we go live, because usually those combos are the ones that change the most day one with CC tweaks and all that. But let me know what you think about the class. Does it look cool? Do you like it? As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.